When the British Empire needed hands to build its sugar colonies in the 19th century, it turned to a land of poets, farmers and floods, Bihar. From the cane fields of Mauritius to the islands of Fiji, from Guyana to Trinidad, the men and women who cut, crushed and carried the empire's wealth often spoke one language, Bhojpuri. They left home in chains but carried with them the sounds, songs and stubborn pride of the Ganga plains. Those were the first migrants from Bihar. A century and a half later, nothing much has changed except the ships have become trains and the plantations have turned into cities. Today, when a Bihari worker boards a bus to Mumbai or a flight to the Gulf, he is not escaping history, but he is repeating it. And every time a migrant is mocked in Bengaluru or attacked in Maharashtra, the echoes of those ships leaving the Calcutta port in 1870 still linger. This is the story of how Biharis built the world but broke their home. When slavery was abolished in 1834, the British needed cheap labor to keep their sugar economy running, and they turned to India, particularly to the Gangetic plains of eastern Uttar Pradesh and Bihar. Between 1834 and 1917, more than 2 million Indians were shipped as indentured laborers, bound by contracts they could barely read, working in distant colonies they had never heard of. Over half of them came from one region, the Bhojpuri belt of Bihar. They were called girmitiyas from the word agreement, which they mispronounced as germit. Men were promised wages and land, women were promised marriage and safety, and most of them got neither. On sugar plantations in Fiji and Mauritius, in the heat of Guyana and Trinidad, they worked 12-hour shift, were whipped for minor mistakes, and lived in hut where the only escape was song. Bhojpuri folk music became their only rebellion. Songs of bhida, separation, longing and survival kept their memory of home very much alive. When their contracts ended, many stayed back stranded by poverty or forbidden from returning. They became the ancestors of today Indo-Fijians, Mauritians and Surinamese Indians, but their descendants still remember. Even today, a Bhojpuri phrase survives in faraway island. Hamra deswa ki yaad aayil. I remember my homeland. The tragedy is that homeland they longed for has changed little since they left it. If colonialism pushed Biharis overseas, independence pushed them out within India. By the 1950s, landlessness and caste hierarchies ensured that those who tilled the soil owned none of it. When the Green Revolution transformed Punjab and Haryana in the 1960s, it created an enormous demand for labor, and Bihar was happy to supply it. Every harvest season, trains were packed with young men leaving for Ludhiana, Jalandhar and Amritsar. They slept in godowns, sent money home and returned to villages that hadn't changed in decades. This pattern continued repeating for years and years. They continued to do construction in Delhi, textile work in Surat, mills in Mumbai and sanitation work in Bangalore, and now delivery work across India's gig economy. It's not just history repeating if you think about it. It's a system that is sustained by absence. Bihar's biggest export is not agriculture or industry. It is its people. Today, nearly 1 in every 6 migrant worker in India is from Bihar. That's millions leaving home each year to build someone else's city. According to the Economic Survey of Bihar, remittances form nearly 35% of the state rural household income. It is not a side story. It is the main economy of Bihar. More than 80 lakh people from Bihar live and work outside the state. The census calls it out-migration, but the term doesn't quite capture the heartbreak. The majority of these migrants come from rural areas, particularly from districts like Siwan, Gopalganj, Darbhanga, Madhubani and Samastipur. Half of them work as casual wage laborers in construction, sanitation, loading and manufacturing. A third are in private jobs, mostly low income. Only about 4% hold government employment. Migration from Bihar has always been caste coded. The poorest and the most marginalized, Dalits, Mahadalits and lower OBCs leave home for survival. The upper caste usually migrate either for education or for business opportunities. It is two different journeys from the same train platform, one packed with a lot of migrants and the other aspirants. Even in destinations, inequality travels with them. The poor live in temporary shanties while the educated find white-collar jobs abroad. But both remain Bihari, the label that follows them everywhere. In 2008, when the Maharashtra Navnirman Sena began attacking migrant workers in Mumbai, many of the victims were from Bihar and eastern UP. They were beaten on local trains, their homes were ransacked, their accents were mocked. In other cities like Bengaluru, Chennai and even Delhi, migrants from Bihar are stereotyped as unskilled, dirty or burdensome. Some landlords even refuse to give them homes. Some employers consciously choose to pay them less. But behind every accusation of outsider is a simple question that no one asks. Why do they have to leave their home in the first place? Had there been factories in Muzaffarpur or industries in Purnia, would they still risk being humiliated to lay down bricks in Mumbai or Bengaluru? Migration is not the problem. It's the symptom of a broken home. And every time a worker is beaten for being a Bihari, it is not just prejudice, it is a reminder of how India treats its poorest citizens. Bihar has been a prisoner of its own politics. Since independence, its story has been written by caste, crime and corruption. Industries that once flourished in the state, like sugar and textile, were nationalized and then abandoned. The state split in 2000 when the delimitation was carried out and Jharkhand was carved out, and with it, Bihar lost 80% of its mineral wealth. Agriculture employs nearly 3/4 of Bihar's population, but only contributes about 20% to its GDP. Add to this the annual floods of Kosi, the lack of irrigation, and the near collapse of public education. And you get a state that produces talent but has no opportunities. From IAS toppers to IIT graduates, Biharis actually excel wherever they go. But within Bihar, the same intelligence has no infrastructure to thrive. It's not Bihar that lacks potential if you actually think about it. It lacks power to empower that potential. And for years, the politics of patronage has replaced the politics of progress. You know, what is remarkable is how much of today's migration mirrors the old indenture system. The British signed agreements that promised freedom but delivered bondage. Today, informal contractors actually do the same thing. Workers are tied by debt, recruited by middlemen, paid very late and dismissed without any notice. Even the journeys look similar. Cramped trains, false promises and long separations. In colonial times, they worked for the empire's glory. Now they build India's cities but remain invisible in its story. They are the new girmitiyas, free on paper but bound by circumstance. With the Bihar elections around the corner, every party is talking about migration. One promises skill development, another promises financial aid to the families that were left behind. Some speak of a right to work, others of reverse migration. But the truth is uncomfortable. As long as Bihar remains dependent on remittances, migration is going to continue. It is an economy built on absence. Entire villages depend on money orders and WhatsApp calls. Women run households alone, and children grow up without their fathers who visit them just once a year. During the COVID-19 lockdown, we saw it clearly. Thousands of men walking back on highways, barefoot, hungry and desperate. This was not a crisis created by a virus. It was the collapse of a system that had forced them away in the first place. Even today, migrant workers contribute billions to India's urban economy but remain politically voiceless. Most cannot vote where they were, and where they can vote, back in Bihar, they are not home on election day. It is the cruel irony of the world that the people who built India have no say in how India is going to be built. To stop migration, you don't stop the people, you start the opportunities. That means reindustrializing Bihar, creating hubs for food processing, agrotech and renewable energy. It means fixing the education system so that Bihar's next generation doesn't have to choose between dignity and survival. It means decentralized governance, better roads, irrigation, power and a serious fight against caste-based discrimination. It means acknowledging that the Bihari migrant is not a liability. He is India's strength. But if Biharis can build nations across the oceans, they can rebuild their home state if given the right chance. When the first indentured ships left Calcutta, those who boarded them cried, not because they feared the sea, but because they didn't know if they would ever come back. That fear still lives in the heart of every migrant who leaves Bihar, whether he is going to a plantation in Fiji or a metro construction site in Bangalore. He is not chasing dreams, unfortunately. He is escaping despair. And yet, wherever they go, Biharis build. They build roads, schools, cities, empires. They build a world. But now, it is their time to build home.